Some of the things to know if you're a new landlord. Hi, my name is Julia M. Spencer. I'm a real estate advisor, full-time investor, and your #1 source for real estate advice online. This video is something about very close and very dear to my heart, which is giving you a very, very important tip if you're a brand new landlord, if you're the first time renting your property to somebody else. Some of the things that brand new landlords just do not know, and unfortunately most of the time don't learn this without the very due course of time. But I'm going to tell you some really important tips here, and please take those to heart if you're a new landlord, if you're planning for the first time to rent out your property to somebody else. There are two things about being a landlord, and let me tell you where I get this from. I've actually been a landlord for probably about 19 years now. It's actually unimaginable that it's been that long, but I have been a landlord that long, so my experience is very much hands-on. I've been a landlord for probably way longer than I ever wanted to be, but I had just a hard time selling properties in the beginning. I just held on to them, I thought I could make it work, but in the process, the good thing is I learned a lot, and I have statistics and I have numbers to back up my information. So the two things that will kill your profits as a landlord is first, tenant turnover. That means the more your tenants leave and come and leave and come and leave and come, the more money you're going to lose. Now, unless you make it a vacation rental, but long-term tenants with leases, the more you have of those, the less money you're going to make. So you want to keep tenants in there as long as possible, as long as they're good tenants, and not have them leave every year. So the second thing that's going to kill your profit, and it's even worse than a tenant not paying their rent, it's worse than tenant turnover, is if a tenant trashes your place. And I'm going to tell you from 19 years of experience, 19 years, and it doesn't matter if you have a property manager, it doesn't matter how good of a checkup you do on the tenants, what their credit score is, it does not matter. There's of course certain guidelines, and that's going to be the subject of another video, but most of the time your tenant, there probably, I'd say maybe 7 or 8 out of 10 tenants will either not pay on time, or you have to chase them for the rent every freaking month, or they will trash your place. And most times it's both of those. In my 19 years of experience, and I've had this discussion with somebody yesterday, and they asked me, in my 19 years of being a landlord of many properties, there's only been one time where a tenant has taken exceptional care of my property, and this kept it super nice and super clean, but in the end, I had to evict them because they didn't pay the rent. So that's the only time. Usually they will not take care of your place and they will not pay the rent. The ones that do, there's actually a good amount of tenants that will pay the rent, and they'll pay it pretty much most of the time on time. However, they will still trash your place, or at least not keep it to your standards. So here's a couple of things that you can do about finding the better set of tenants if you want to be a landlord yourself. Now, if you have a property management company, they'll have their own procedures, but even so, you as the owner are responsible. You cannot push all your responsibilities over to a property manager, especially if you want to stay profitable. So some of the things that you can do, and some of the things that you can do is definitely run a credit check. If you don't have an application from a tenant that wants to rent your place, don't just give them a lease. You need to have an application. The application needs to have a social security number, it needs to have information where they work, so you can track them down if there's any outstanding rent later on, if there's a judgment against them. But you also need to basically check their references. Make sure you call previous landlords, check out and see what they've said about these tenants. Now, nobody's obligated to say anything bad about a tenant to a future landlord. However, they can abstain from making a comment at all, and then you can make your own judgment. But for more tips like this, I have a very, very cool, awesome book on my website, juliamspencer.com. It's at the bottom right here of this video. You can just go there. It's called the Essential Landlording Guide. Please go there, download that today. If you're even considering being a landlord, or if you're already a landlord, you have difficulties with your tenants, That's the place to go to get the advice. And for anything else, leave me a comment right below this video. I'll get to it as soon as I can. I might make a new video out of it. But just remember these two things, because I've just recently rented a place actually from brand new landlords. This is actually their first house. They've only lived there for a year, and then they moved away and they rented it to me. I did them a favor to take the place over quickly so they can make their money. But there's a lot of hassling going on right now, and these landlords are just not understanding that I'm about to walk out the door and they're gonna have to learn the lesson the hard way of what it's like to have a tenant that's gonna trash your place and not pay the rent on time. Of course, the first thing is you want to have your money on time, as much as possible on time, most every month, within that little grace period that you have, 3 or 4 days of the first of the month when it's due. But if you have a tenant, even if they pay timely, if they trash your place, that's going to be much more expensive than not having your rent payment for a month or maybe a little bit late. So 2 things you need to consider. If you have a tenant that pays your rent on time or early, keep that tenant around. But second, most important, is make sure that they keep track of the property. Now, if your tenant uses the property for other than personal use, for example for a vacation rental, you just about hit the jackpot, because the place is going to be constantly cleaned, it's always going to be taken care of, maintenance is always going to be updated, and there's going to be money coming in without any problems to pay your rent payments. So before you say no to a tenant that wants to use your property as a vacation rental, just consider those 2 facts. The 2 things that will kill your profit as a landlord are constant tenant turnover and a tenant trashing your place. More tips like this, go to my website, juliamspencer.com, download your free guide to real estate investing there, and sign up for my newsletter. And I hope to see you investing profitably very soon. Thank you.
For your free guide to real estate investing, visit juliamspencer.com.